Hi, I'm Keith with Financial Excellence. Today I want to share with you the 7 strategies of financially secure people. I've worked with hundreds, maybe thousands of people over my 24-year career, and I think I've distilled down the 7 common strategies of financially secure people. I'm going to share those with you, and you might want to get a pen and paper and write these down. If you learn these 7 strategies and you implement them in your life, you'll be light years ahead of most average Americans out there. So, number one is they're financially organized. That means they have a place where they can go to that has all their financial information in one easy, accessible place, and they can update that information as needed. And what's even better is if you have your goals and your vision and the things you want to focus on all written down, and with those financial documents, and have that all in one place so you can review that with your advisors and everyone on a hopefully an annual basis. So being financially organized, number one, is really important. Number two is they make protection a priority. What I mean by that is, one life event can rip the rug out from your finances. It could be a death or an illness or an accident or a lawsuit, job loss, a divorce. All these things can happen. Now, maybe you can't protect entirely against all those things, but there's certain risks that you can transfer away with insurance. For example, your home and auto insurance, liability coverage if you get sued or if you're in an at-fault accident, life insurance, disability coverage, health insurance. There's a number of different insurances, and making protection a priority. Make sure you're fully protected and protected for the life of you and your assets. That's really important to evaluate your protection portfolio and make sure it's optimal for you and your finances. It'll be different from one family to the next, so that's really important to make sure it's right for you and to kind of walk through what I would call stress testing. What if this happens? What if that happens? What would my finances look like? And if they don't look good, maybe you could implement some insurance protection there to buffer that and make that a better outcome for your family or for you. So proper protection is number two. Number three is having an adequate emergency fund for your stage in life. Now, if you don't have an emergency fund, you better get one quick. I recommend you get to 1,000 or 2,500 just as quick as you can. But ideally, by the time you're in your 20s or 30s, you should have access to at least 3 months of liquid capital in case you lose your job or get sick or something happens in your life, the engine blows up in the car. Having access to emergency funds when these life events occur is crucial to insulating and protecting your other assets, your retirement plans, your investments. Because if you don't have an emergency fund, guess what? You got to cash in that 401k to cover some life event, and that's a bad. Usually, when that happens, Murphy's Law is smacking you in the face. The market's crashed 40%. You're going to have to pay taxes. It could happen at the worst time. So having an emergency fund, make sure that you're buffered against that. So in your 20s and 30s, try to get that up to 3 months of living expenses saved up in liquid short-term capital that you can get your hands on right away. It has to be safe and secure and available to you at any time. When you're a little older, maybe in your 40s or 50s, you really need to build that up to about 6 months of living expenses. And because those life events can be, you don't have as much time to save, and you may have more assets, so having more liquid capital would be helpful. And then by the time you're retired, I recommend you have 12 months of living expenses saved up. Mainly because when you're retired, you're not earning any more income. It's unlikely you're going to be building those cash reserves unless you just have a lot of excess retirement income. But a lot of times retirees find it difficult to save up more money because they're in the mode of spending money, not saving. So building that up so that you can overcome those life events is really important. The next area is being sure to save and invest 15 to 20% or more of your income. In fact, if you can get to 25% savings rate, I would call you a world-class saver. But listen, if you don't get to 15 or 20%, you're going to find it very difficult to ever have financial security in life. You got to get there, and you'll be happier and you'll feel more secure if you do. And so if you're not saving 15 to 20% now, and frankly, the average American out here is probably not saving 5% of their income. And the way the government calculates that, it's not really an accurate figure either. They say if you're paying down debt, they call that savings. Now, maybe that makes sense in accounting world, but in the real world, if you're not putting that money in an account or an investment or an asset, I don't call it savings or investing. So what we want to see is saving 15 to 20% of your gross income or more. And the more money you make, the more you need to save to overcome it. Listen, there's too many pressures. You've got inflation, you've got taxation, you've got depreciation of everything you own. You want to improve your lifestyle, and then there's just unforeseen life events. And if you don't have a good savings rate, you just won't be able to overcome these pressures. And so that's why it's so important. The next step is making sure that you have no bad debt in your life. It's hard to get ahead when you're paying 18, 20, or 22% interest. You just can't overcome that. So if you've got a lot of bad debt, you need a plan to eliminate it. If you don't have any bad debt, great, stay away from it. Now, not all debt is created equal. Some debts are better than others. Ideally, we wouldn't have any debt at all. But if we're going to have debts, make sure it's the good kind, the kind that's backed up by an asset that you could liquidate by selling the asset, that's low interest, maybe has some tax advantages. Things that fit that category like mortgages, possibly student loans if they're structured properly, business loans. Those are debts that make you money, but debts that cost you money are just working against you. Credit cards, personal loans, consumer debt, car loans for cars that you really shouldn't have bought in the first place, student loans possibly for degrees that don't pay off. All these could be bad debts and be a drag on your finances. So have no bad debt, eliminate bad debt. The next step is having a budgeted lifestyle with what's left. And the first item in your lifestyle budget is your housing cost, whether it's your mortgage payment or your rent. Make sure you keep that at 25% or less. The less the better. 15 to 20 would be great. But keep your housing costs less than 25% of your income. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself house poor, and you're going to have a hard time being financially secure. Something's going to suffer if you're paying too much for your house. You're either going to not have enough protection, you're not going to be saving, or you're going to be running up your debt. So it's really important to make sure those housing costs are low. And then have a budgeted lifestyle for all your lifestyle expenses. And be sure to build in, money for vacations and for entertainment and some of life's little luxuries. But once you manage your cash flow in this way, so you've earned your income, you make sure you're properly protected, you have an adequate emergency fund, you're saving and investing 15 to 20%, and you have no bad debt. Now you've given yourself permission to spend what's left with no guilt and no anxiety. And how would that feel? So that budget lifestyle to budget the rest of those life's expenses is great. If you find that you have a positive net unallocated cash flow, that's great. That gives you permission to claw some of that money into building your savings more, investing more, maybe paying down some debts faster if you're working on a debt plan. Or if everything is good, maybe you improve your lifestyle, take some more time off, more trips, whatever. But if you have a negative cash flow, that's not good. So you're probably running up your debt, or possibly you're not saving what you ought to be. So you'll have some work to do if you have a negative net cash flow. And then the last item of financially secure people is that they have the proper legal documents that are executed and up to date. And by this I mean they have their wills, their power of attorney, their health care proxy, and their living will all in place and up to date and executed properly. I tell you, a will do a world of difference in helping your family deal with probate court and all of that. Without a will, it could be a lot of problems. Now, some people are young and don't have a lot of assets, and maybe they're not married. Could they get away without having a will? Yeah, probably. You might still have some. It might still be easier if you had one, but if you have children, if you have assets, you really need to think about having a will in place. And if you don't have one, you need to contact an attorney or go online and find one of those resources to get one done. But make sure it's properly executed. It's worth the money to get that done. Your power of attorney, I think, is important at any age, whether you're young or old. You could be incapacitated due to an accident or illness, and if that happens, your family's going to have a hard time taking care of your business if they don't have the power of attorney to conduct business on your behalf. Same thing for a healthcare proxy, giving someone the authority to make medical decisions on your behalf. And lastly, a living will, to tell your family what your wishes are in the event you were in a vegetative state or needed life support or things like that. You could take away a lot of stress, and those documents are very easy. You could probably go down to the office store and spend $10 and get the forms you need, or you could download them on one of those services online. And so, don't delay. Put that on your calendar and get that done. So I've covered the 7 strategies of financially secure people in America. Just a quick review of them. Number 1 is they're financially organized. Number 2, they're properly protected. Number 3, they have an appropriate emergency fund. Number 4, they're saving 15 to 20% of their income or more. Number 5, they have no bad debt. Number 6, they have a budgeted lifestyle and their housing costs don't exceed 25% of their income. And lastly, number 7, they have the appropriate legal documents that are up to date and in place. So that's the 7 strategies of financially secure people. I call this phase 1 of planning. If you can get those 7 strategies in place in phase 1, you will be financially secure. And then it's a whole lot easier to go on to working on phase 2, which is growing and developing your wealth models so that you can prosper in the future. I hope this video has been helpful. Reach out to me, message me, email me, call me if you have any questions. And if you'd like to work with me one-on-one on your own plan, I'd be happy to do that. Your initial call is absolutely free. We'll just discuss your situation and see if we want to work together. So thank you very much. Have a great day.